Well, this is it. You're done. Hopefully not totally done with PUC. Hopefully we're still in your hearts. But you're done with taking classes. If you lived in the dorms, you're done with that. If you lived off campus, you're done with commuting here, and you're done with paying tuition. I'm sure that that is a relief. We often think of graduation as an end, as this rite of passage to put an end to some part of your life. But actually, the word graduation, its etymology is to start, to move forward or to move upward. And its synonym is commencement, which means to start something. So this rite of passage, just like all rites of passages, are actually a start of a new chapter of your life. You know, this could be a time where it is exciting but also fearful because you don't know what you're going to do. Maybe if you're going to grad school, then you do know. But if you're not, you might be wondering, well, what does my life have for me right now? What job am I going to get? Am I going to live at home? Am I going to move far away? Well, there is a verse that has been well read, and it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And we usually read that in a general sense, that just God knows the plans He has for you and He wants you to prosper. And I do believe that, but I believe that the context gives a little bit more. See, if you understand the context of when this was written, probably around 596 BC, to the exiles who had just been taken from Israel and put into Babylon. And they had years ahead of them that they were going to be exiles. And God says, you know what? I do have plans of prosperity and hope and peace for you. Even though things seem so unsure, I want you to prosper. But we usually end right there. But the text actually says more. Because that isn't really the promise. That's just a fact. God has plans to prosper you. Now here is the promise. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. The promise isn't that God has plans of prosperity. That is just a fact. He wants you to prosper and have peace and hope. But the promise really is, if you seek me, you'll find me. And when you seek me and find me, that's when prosperity happens. That's when peace happens. That's when hope happens. So if you really want to know, because the question I've been asked so many times is, what is God's will for my life? I want to know what God has planned for me. What is God's will? Well, I want to give you a couple of steps on finding God's will for your life. Because I don't personally know what God's individual will is for each one of your lives. But I know that in this text it says one thing. If you want to know God's will, which His will is prosperity for you, God's will first is that you seek Him. That you seek Him with all of your heart. And I know that's not easy for all of us, and maybe it's foreign to you. But if you really want to know what God has planned for you, you seek Him with all of your heart. So that's step number one, is you seek the Lord. Now step number two is you do know some of God's will. If it's clear what God's will is, you follow that. For example, don't steal from people. Don't commit adultery. Don't lie to each other. So how does that play into God's will? Well, if you have two opportunities of a job, one is calling you to be a little dishonest with numbers, and the other one isn't, well then you know which one God's will is. follow the one where it's clear. I won't have to compromise my integrity. Now, step number 3 has to deal with that, because when we don't do what is clear in God's will, it's a lot harder to know what God's personal will is for your life. So, for example, Joseph did not know what God's personal will for his life was, but he did know what was clear for his life. Don't sleep with that woman. So he didn't. And God continually led him, and his personal will was that he would save the nations of Israel and Egypt through a famine. So we've got 1 is seek the Lord with everything you have. 2 is when it is clear what God's will is, you follow that. And 3 is for you to know what God's personal will for you is, you need to follow what is clear as God's will. And 4th is pray to God when things are unclear. God wants you to be in communion with Him. And He will lead you in the right way at the right time. But seek Him. Pray to Him. Ask for guidance so that He can lead you to prosperity, hope, and peace. I congratulate you guys, class of 2020. I know that you will do great things, probably greater than the generations past. Change this world. Seek God and find out what He has planned for you.